Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm your host, Angela Wilkinson. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Ever since Jakub Turecki was a teenager, he's been drawn to personal development and has had a passion for exploring different ways of overcoming conditioning and transforming shadows into a source of personal empowerment. He began studying human design in 2006 and has taught courses and led seminars both live and online since 2010. Jakub trains people to become human design professionals and has done over 2,500 readings for his clients all over the world. Joining us from the Czech Republic, let's welcome Jakub to the show. Hi, I'm Angela Wilkinson, and welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. Today I have Jakub joining me to talk about human design and how to use it and integrate it in our own life and use it to help us manifest our talents with the greatest ease. So welcome.
Thank you, Angela, for having me here. And hi, everybody.
Yeah, hi everybody. Yeah, so let's start first with where did human design come from?
Okay, so the story goes like this. In 1987, a Canadian guy, Robert Alan Krakower, who called himself later on Ra Uruhu, he was living in Ibiza for several years already, and one evening he went to his house and he had what he called later an encounter with the voice. And the voice basically spoke to him for about 8 days and 8 nights, on and off, here and there. And Ra was shown many of the aspects of the human design system. He was also given a lot of background information on the history of the universe and where it's all heading. And actually, there is a movie on YouTube called Encounter with the Voice by Ra Uruhu, where he speaks about this experience, which he made on the 20th anniversary. So, yeah, it was a revelation. It was a revelation, like many of the ancient teachings, but in a modern day. Yeah.
Yeah, and it what I understand, it brings a few different aspects together. It brings together astrology and I Ching. What else? Does it integrate?
Yeah, it's Ra used to call it a synthesis of I Ching, astrology, the Hindu chakra system. People looking at the body graph, at the human design body graph, often see a similarity to Kabbalistic tree of life. But he was also given some information that were very kind of technical or scientific, you could say. He was told, for example, that neutrinos, these are particles that are born in the heart of stars, and they travel through the universe almost at the speed of light, 99.9 something of speed of light, that they do actually carry mass. And as they travel through planets and then they reach a child that has been just born, that's how they imprint us, because they have a mass, and because they have a mass, they can carry information. So he was giving this information that neutrinos have mass, for example, 10 years before it was scientifically proven and actually discovered. So yes, it's a synthesis. At the same time, even though it sounds sketchy or interesting, I don't particularly feel like going around saying human design is a synthesis of I Ching and astrology. Yes, there are all these parts there, but the main thing is to really test it out in your own life and see how it works, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, let's dive into each of the aspects. So there are 4 types of people, and well, actually, before, let me back up just for a second. You created my chart earlier, And
Uh-huh.
so we're going to kind of use that as an example. And
Right.
so we'll be able to share that on the screen on the show page so people can take a
Yes.
peek as we're
Wonderful.
going through this. So there's four types of people. There's a manifestor, a generator, projector, and reflector. So can you talk briefly about each of those and then also share what mine is?
Right. I think I'd better start a little bit from a different place to work my way to that because it
Okay.
makes more sense. Basically, as you're looking at a chart, what is it you're looking at is that you see these 9 energy centers. And one of the information that Ra was given was that in 1781, when we discovered planet Uranus, we began to be born with 9 centers as opposed to 7 centers as we were born for millennia, tens of thousands of years. And what happened is that we have a different vehicle. We have a different body with different capacities. And these 9 centers are like organs of perception that each is related to a different aspect of our life. So we have a center which is about emotions and passions and desires, and then we have a center which is about health and survival and instincts and intuition and immune system and so on and so forth. And these centers, in most cases, are either colored in or white, open. And when they're colored in, it means that we have a consistent way of functioning in that area of our life, which that center represents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when the center is open, it means we don't have a consistent way of functioning there, but that's where we're open to the world, and that's where we actually look out into the world and see how other people are doing, and we get to be wise eventually, hopefully, about these themes, right? And what we can see in the chart is that based on which centers are defined, colored in, and which channels are connecting them, I'll speak about it maybe a little later, we get certain configurations, and there are 4 basic types of configurations, basically four basic types of energy body, because we're looking really at the map of our aura, of our energy body, and that's why we call them 4 types, right? And each type has a different aura functioning in a different way, uniquely. And because of that, each type is predetermined, predisposed to do certain things, and has a certain role. Okay, so I hope I'm making myself clear.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, great.
um, just to briefly speak very briefly about the 4 types, because it's really not easy thing to do to speak about it briefly, is that we
Right.
have we have 68% of the people in the world that are so-called generators, generating type, and these are the people that have a consistent, stable access to life force, which is the second box from the bottom. It's the sacral center. You have it defined in your chart as well.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what it means is that you're here to find satisfaction through correctly using your energy to build something, to work on something. That gives you satisfaction. If you can bring order into chaos, for example, in your case, or if you can focus and concentrate on certain things, that gives you satisfaction. And generators are like yin kind of type, because their aura really attracts and is like magnetic, and it attracts things coming to them. And basically, they're here to just respond to whatever comes to them. I'm a generator too. You're a generator too. 7 people out of 10 are generators, basically. And even though it sounds passive, it's not passive at all. It just says that we're not here to make our decisions from the mind, ideally, because the mind is really just the passenger in the body, in the vehicle, right? And the thing that can decide for us is actually the life force itself, and that's what we call response. And
Ah,
maybe we can get a little later into what it means, because you are a generator, and most listeners or viewers are probably generators too. So I can speak about that maybe a little later.
mm-hmm.
But let's just say that generators, the most common type of all, are people that are here to find satisfaction through using their energy to do things that, to build something, to work on something that really satisfies them, right?
Sure.
And just like the satisfaction is the signature for the type, each type also has what we call the not self, and that is a frustration in generators. If you would be doing something and you weren't able to focus and concentrate and really dedicate yourself fully to it, for example, in your case, with the channel of focus and concentration that you have and dedication, um, you wouldn't be excited about it. You'd be frustrated about it.
Makes
So
sense.
right. So that's, and when I say channel, I mean this red line that connects the root center at the very bottom and the red square second from the bottom. With these gates 52 and 9, that's the channel of determination and concentration. So it says basically that you are here to use your life force in order to focus and concentrate on bringing order into chaos and bringing changes into the world. That's the gate 3, the gate of changes, the gate that brings order into chaos, right?
So,
Um,
okay, I just clarification. You say bring order to chaos. Is
mhm.
it bring chaos to order? I've never heard bring order to chaos. So, am I supposed to like just like change things up or?
Well, it's the gate of ordering. So you have the power. It's the life force. It's the main keynote of the sacral center is power. So you have the power to bring order into chaos and change something.
So, like a
Maybe even
catalyst.
yes, 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 yes.
Cool.
Except the thing is that you can't do it just because you want to and you feel like it, but because actually you respond to it, and that's when basically you recognize that you have the energy to do that, which is what I mean when I say response, is this rising up in your frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Where, just a simple example is when you drive on a street and you see a billboard for a movie or for a concert, and it's really something you'd like to see, right? And you go like, oh, I really want to see that. And there is this kind of rising up in your energy. It makes you more alive, and this is what
Yes.
we call response, right?
Yeah.
And you can pay attention to it, and you can actually tune into it and be present to when it's happening and follow it, and you know that you'll have the energy to do what it takes if you follow your response, as opposed to doing things from the mind just because you think it's a cool idea.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah. So another way to say that is follow your greatest excitement or passion, right?
Yes, except that's one of the things that human design offers and brings, is that it's actually, because it's such a new system, such a new science, it's very precise, and it can offer astonishing level of detail. That's actually, kind of a handicap, because it can be so complex and so detailed, and yet we can, easily stick to the surface, and anyways, that's where we make it or break it. It either, there are very basic things that I can tell you about yourself, and so, but, saying excitement sounds like kind of emotional, right? So, um, it's
I
not
guess
just being
I guess it's
excited.
like what lights you up, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then, there is a quote from Joseph Campbell, right, which says, follow your bliss and universe will open the doors for you where there have been walls before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you do things that it is the center of sexual energy. It is excitement too, right? It's something that just really charges you up.
All
And it's
right.
this feeling you can tune into and you can learn to recognize and follow it, basically.
Yeah. All right. I like it. It sounds good. Okay, so how about the other three?
Okay, well, projectors are the second most common type. There is 22% of the people in the world that are projectors, projecting type, and they're really here to guide other people. They are the guides and the people that are sort of system analysts. Um, Projectors have a very unique way of looking the world. And actually, if you have people of two types speaking together, we're all humans, but it's like if you speak to a dolphin. It's such a different point of view, such a different way of relating to world. This auric body, this aura of ours, which is predetermined from our birth to function in one particular way. It's like you can't live outside of it. It's extremely subjective. So Yeah, projectors are people that are here to really penetrate into what's happening around us, around them, to really understand, to really get other people, right? So they're not so focused on being satisfied by working on something, but they're intent on really getting what other people are going through. And they're here to be successful in being recognized and appreciated as they guide other people, right? Now, the only problem there is that, and there is always but in these, in all four types, there is always this but, because we usually get conditioned, and that's part of, the journey we're here to go through conditioning and then through deconditioning, and it's the hero's journey, actually, right? So, so projectors tend to try and get attention of other people. Of course, when we're quite young, we're little children, we're more or less in touch with our natural state of being, but then the conditioning takes over. You have to be like this, you cannot do that, you must do this, and so on and so forth. And when that happens, when projectors are disturbed from their natural state of being, they try to get attention of other people. They begin to feel that, oh, I should be as active and as energized as all the generators are. I should be equally powered up, and they need to notice me, and I need to tell them what to do. So they're giving a lot of unsolicited advice. Of course, anybody can do that, right? But if it's a projector that gives unsolicited advice, they really get slapped quite harshly by life,
Yeah.
So the opposite of success, the not self there is bitterness, feeling bitter that the world doesn't get them. It's like being the guy that knows exactly how things should be, and how everything could be just perfect, but nobody wants to listen. And if
Right.
you try to tell them, they tell you, don't tell me, I don't want to know. You may
Yeah.
actually know a little bit about that because you have the channel of judgment and you are really good at spotting what doesn't work. And it's the red line from the root center, all the way to the left, which is the splenic center on the far left, the brown triangle. And it's the gate of stimulation, gate 58, and the gate of correction, gate 18, where spleen, being the center of awareness and being associated with instinct, you are instinctively aware, immediately and instinctively aware of that which doesn't work, where there is
Yes.
a problem in the logical pattern, where there is a problem in things, and you're wired to want to point that out and really improve the world around you. This is like so much of who you are. You're here to improve the world, right? So you may probably know something about not always being heard or appreciated when you point out the things. And really the key for you to be heard and appreciated when you do that is that you share that criticism, you share that judgment, you share that correction, when it happens within the context of the situation, within the context of the conversation. In other words, again, in response, right? It's not just because you see that something's wrong that you need to point that out, because I'm sure you have these experiences that when you did it and nobody wanted to actually listen to you and they were good with you, right?
Right. And I felt like I was just being so mean because I would point things out because it would be as clear as day to me, but then they weren't ready to receive it because yeah, there was
Yeah.
like a yeah. So
Yes. Yes. Because you
you're
were
making me
serving it
blush.
you were serving it in a way that they couldn't digest it.
Mhm.
It's like, and that's what I tell to projectors, by the way, because they see all the little things that we do that aren't right, that could be better, and it's so plain to them, right? But if they were pointing this out to everybody and somebody would be observing them, so just like they're telling other people when they do mistakes, that someone else who watches them would tell them, well, your mistake is to point that out to them. Keep it to yourself and just wait to be invited. So as generators respond, projectors ideally wait to be invited. Now, invitation is a topic that's often misunderstood. It's not that somebody really needs to ask you, could you please, Monica, go and help me with this? But the invitation can be that you see a baby falling on a pavement and mother is 10 meters ahead and the baby begins to cry and you pick it up. And that's an invitation. The situation has invited the person to pick up the baby. So projector needs to recognize when they're recognized and appreciated. And if other people are not paying attention to them, they can save their energy and breath and just, not say anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about being invited and recognized. Then they can shine. Then they can actually offer their advice and guidance and be successful.
Yeah.
That's projectors.
Got it.
Just very briefly.
I don't think if I was strictly a projector, I don't think I would be able to handle myself.
It's challenging, but then every type has its challenges. But as I
Yeah.
said, if projectors initiate, which is the term we use when you do something because you just think you have to or you want to, if projectors initiate, they really get slapped hard. It's not easy for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we have manifestors, which is 8 to 9% of the people, and we don't need that many. That's why we don't have that many. Look, it makes sense. Manifestors are the people that initiate something new. They're actually the only type that's wired to initiate things. They're kind of reaching to the etheric plane, if we want to be mystical, and really downloading something that's coming to the world, something new that needs to be born through their energy into the world. And they're the people who have profound, big impact on other people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're designed to act independently and go ahead. And at the same time, because they're so wild, they're not as easily domesticated as children, and so they're really, possibly the most abused children, or the children that hear most of the time, you mustn't do that, you have to do this. They're being told do this, do that, because if other children are told to do this or that, they eventually begin to do that, cooperate in one way or another. But manifestors, their aura is really kind of smaller than aura of other people, but super dense. It's like if you were holding a pebble and it weighs 50 pounds or something, right? It's super dense aura which protects them from other people interfering with them, and at the same time they're extremely yin, yang, just like generators are yin and they're taking
Mm-hmm.
things in. Manifestors are yang and they're putting it all out, so they really have big impact on other people. And they're really here to go ahead and initiate something new, whatever their voice of truth tells them. We'll speak about it a little later. They're what we call authority, the way we each have our own voice of truth, our decision-making process, which, anyways, whatever the voice of truth tells them to go ahead and initiate, that's what they bring into the world. And since people can't really read them and they really don't know what to think about them, they're kind of like in need to mitigate their impact. Therefore, their strategy, the ideal way of functioning, we have the strategy for generators is to respond, strategy for projectors is to wait to be invited, strategy for manifestors is to inform.
Mm-hmm.
They naturally act independently, but if they learn to tell people that are involved or that will be impacted by their actions what they're going to do before they do it, ideally, those people around them will actually feel much easier, because they will at least have an idea what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
because they really have big impact on the world. You can maybe get an idea about the manifestors if I mention some manifestors names. Johnny Depp, Al
Mm-hmm.
Pacino, Robert De Niro,
Yeah.
George W. Bush, Vladimir Putin, other people. Manifestors are actually, even though they sound all powerful, they can actually be very kind and gentle, and they're inherently creative, and they hate repetition. And what they're really after is peace. Like generators are after satisfaction because they work on something that really satisfies them. Projectors are after success from being recognized. Manifestors are here to initiate something, and when they see that what they've initiated has taken roots and people were able to take it on board and do something with it, they get to rest and they get to be at peace. Usually they don't inform, and also because of the childhood conditioning, it's a paradox, but they actually, in most cases, gave up on initiating. They're actually trying to be like generators and just respond to what's going on. Where the generators, instead of responding, they're trying to be like manifestors and wanting to initiate a lot. It's
Yes.
they're actually mirror images, these two types. They're very,
Interesting.
like, yin and yang, right? So it's the anger that's the not self in manifestors, and it's the peace that they're after, right?
Wow. This is just like becoming more and more rich and I love it. It's like there's so many nuances and you kind of touched on that earlier that there's so much depth that you can keep, layer after layer. So I'm curious, one of my tendencies is I feel, I'm a workaholic and I
Mm,
have trouble pulling myself away from my business or something that's exciting for me. And so
mm.
I'm wondering how we create balance and but also be effective manifestors, not as in the type, but as in
Right.
creating the life that we want.
Yeah. So what I would say is that basically human design is a tool that that helps you to be more sensitive to yourself. It's a useful tool for people that are in the process of waking up. It doesn't create the experience of waking up, but if you're waking up to yourself and really are interested in improving the quality of your life, it's a great tool, and it really is a map that allows you to see something about yourself. And just today I was doing a reading for a woman from States, and she said at the end that. A lot of the things I've heard, I knew. There wasn't that many things that would be completely new to me, or some big surprises. But actually, now I see it from a different point of view, and now I think about it all differently, and it all makes sense. That's a
Hmm.
typical feedback, actually. So this is about being more sensitive to ourselves and listening to what our energy, what our body, what our energy wants to be doing, and following it. And this is really the precondition for us to really successfully manifest. Because um, one of the ways to describe human design that I like to use, that I came up with, is that basically it's about uh, being able to share our gifts and talents with other people. Because typically, to a certain degree at least, we stand in our own way
Hmm.
because we want to live the life that we think we should be living instead of really being present to the life that we actually live. And so if you get the information about your human design, about your design, and maybe come to a course or something and really start to look at what it means for you, uh, it's not that you're going to have a better life, you're going to have your life and be fully present to it. And
Hmm.
if you are fully present in your life, and if you are sensitive to yourself and are continuously, because it's a continuous process, continuously giving up the idea about how your life should look like, but actually surrendering to where your energy takes you, then you are walking the path of least resistance and you can
Hmm.
really fully express all those gifts and talents that you have. And it doesn't matter what type you are, but you're really manifesting it in this broader sense of this word that we use it and the way we use it, right? So that's my answer to that. It's
Hmm.
really about being sensitive to ourselves and not trying to control the life, but let ourselves be guided through life. And again, it may sound a little passive when I speak about it, but actually, we can be very active participants. It's just that we're not ideally deciding about where we're going or what we're supposed to do. We leave the decision making on our energy, but once we commit, we decide, the energy commits and decides, we can be the observer and we can bring a lot of creativity to it, and we can really have a lot of fun in it. It's like we can be the we can have a front row in the movie of our life, and we are actually playing the main character finally.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
again, many people are already, everybody's in the process. This is not to create the process, it's just to support the process.
Hmm. So is this something where like Like people, when they are looking for a love relationship, for example, they want to
Uh-huh.
compare their sign with someone else. Is this something that we do as well? Like it would be beneficial to have this in mind, or is it irrelevant?
Well, my take on it is that really, if you know what it means for you to live your design, in other words, if you're sensitive and tuned into what is your voice of truth and following it, you will get to meet exactly the person you're supposed to meet, and you will have exactly the relationship that is meant to be between the two of you.
Hmm.
And it's so narrow the way we look at relationship. It's like we either are dating or not. We're either in marriage or we're singles, right? And but there can be infinite possibilities in between. It's like emotions. There are so many emotions, and we have names for just a few of them. It's like the same way like Eskimos have, like 50 words for rain, right? So we have just rain, or maybe it's raining cats and dogs, and that's it. But there are so many possibilities, and so like if you are sensitive to yourself and you engage with the other person in a way that's correct for you, it can become a partnership, a love relationship. And yes, human design can be really good at looking at the two charts, your chart and your partner's chart, and looking at where you meet, what's similar, what's completely opposite, and there can be some great insights by doing the partnership analysis, which I do as well.
Hmm.
But primarily, I don't think it makes sense to be looking at somebody's chart and saying, oh, I think I should go out with this girl, or I should meet this man because, and I've had some people, asking me if I would do a dating service or like, meeting service, online with this. And I always said no because it makes no sense. It's like,
Right.
if you follow your truth, you will get exactly where you need to be. And yes, it can be really nice if you see the chart of the other person when you're together, and you can find out about the differences and similarities.
Right. Well, I love that answer because we don't need to complicate relationships anymore, right? By
Yeah.
trying to meet someone based on that. So, but I can see how after in your communication styles and through your relationship, how you could use that to have a more
Mhm.
effective relationship.
Totally, totally, and more accepting relationship,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is more effective. Like basically,
Yeah.
we accept the way things are, and we know we can't really do much about it.
Right. Right.
It's like
You
you
fall
can't
in
change
love
your
with.
partner.
Yeah. Go ahead.
If you tried, you're gonna fail, right? You can't change the other person.
Right. Yeah, and it's not your responsibility to try to change someone else.
Yes.
That's not why you're here.
Not
um,
that I haven't tried, but I've tried and I know it doesn't work. So,
right, right. I think we all try at some
yeah,
point.
I think so.
I'm glad you're enjoying today's episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. I want to take just a moment to thank all of the listeners and viewers who've donated to the show because the Awakened Goddess Show is community supported. That means it's 100% donation based. So if the show has been meaningful for you, it's inspired you, or has been helpful in any way, I ask you to support the show. All donations go towards producing the show, keeping it on the air, as well as keeping the archives available free anywhere in the world. So thank you for your contribution and everything you're doing to support the Awakened Goddess Show. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. You can go to theawakenedgoddess.com/donate to show your support. And if you're not able to donate financially today, there are many ways you can support the show. You can share the show with your community, subscribe, and leave the show a 5-star review on iTunes. Because without your help, the show wouldn't be possible. Now let's pick up where we left off. Back to the show. So, can you talk about the profiling? Like, what does that mean? What is that?
Okay, you mean the profiles, yeah?
Profiles, yes.
Okay, okay. So, well, let me again go a little bit around that question and come back to it. So I spoke at the beginning that there are these centers which relate to different areas of our life. And the ones that are open, this is where we really are taking things very deeply into ourselves, and where we get to see the world, and where we meet, and where we have relationships and so on. And the ones that are defined, colored in, that's where we function in a very specialized and defined and predetermined way. And I was already describing some of the predetermined ways and definition that you have. You're here to focus and concentrate on improving the world around you by pointing out that which doesn't work and bringing order into chaos. Okay, so that's the main thing. Now, when you look at these gates, gates are these archetypal gifts and talents that we're born with. There are 64 gates, 64 hexagrams in the Human Design Mandala, just like there are 64 codons in the DNA. There is a relationship between these I Ching hexagrams and DNA, and actually several books came out writing about this relationship between I Ching and DNA. When the two gates meet, they create a channel. You can look at the root, gate 19 in your case, and far right, gate 49. There is a channel of synthesis, design of sensitivity. This is something that makes you really, really sensitive to what other people need, and also to your own needs, and always finding the balance between, well, I need this and they need that, and what's really fair and what's really correct, right? It's the never-ending, lifelong lesson about finding the balance. Yeah.
Oh, so that's never going to end.
Exactly. You're getting better and better at it. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
And so each gate is this archetypal gift and talent that we carry, that's coded into our DNA, we can say. And actually each gate has 6 lines, because we know from I Ching that I Ching hexagrams have 6 lines. And you're probably going to show the view of your chart within the mandala when you put it on the website. So there is this Human Design mandala, which you can see has the astrological zodiac in the inner circle, and there are the numbers around the zodiac. And basically the reason the astrological zodiac is there is that we need to determine based on the position of planets at the time of our birth, which gates were activated. So we know that, for example, your moon is activated in the 24th gate, and the reason we know that is that it was in a whatever degree of whatever sign it was. It was in a certain degree of certain sign, and in that place in the mandala is gate 24. Okay. Gate 17 on the very top in your chart, on the very top of the 2 columns of numbers, is your sun. This is where you shine. This is why you're here. It's the gate of opinions. You're here to have some opinions about certain things, right?
Ooh, and you know what? That's interesting, because that has been a challenge for me. I've kind of like that's what I'm my kind of like what I'm feeling into these days right now in current time, is really feeling comfortable expressing my opinion out loud. So I love that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's in your case, it's in the open Ajna center, second from the top. And whenever the gate is in the open center, it means it's not consistently, reliably present and ready to just be activated. It's there, but it's not always turned on. It's not always switched on. So basically, yes, you are here to have some strong opinions about certain things, but at the same time, because it's open, you don't need to have opinions about all kinds of things and everything. And really, ideally, the opinions that you have and that you share are opinions about something that really calls you, that you really feel the calling, because you have a second line there. 17.2, it's the 17th gate, the gate of opinions, second line, and that's the line of your profile, 2-5 profile. The second line in your profile comes from the second line in your Sun and Earth, which are the top 2 numbers in your chart, right? So the second line means that you're being called to something. It also means that you're naturally talented at certain things. It also means that you love to be alone, right?
Yes.
And you need to be alone. It's very important for you, right?
Yeah.
You're like a hermit sitting in a cave that builds the wall around its cave, and only goes out if a calling is really exciting or interesting enough to, go over the wall into the cave and really actually take you out of the cave, out of your
Yeah.
solitude.
And
Because
what's
although,
interesting is a lot of people I think that are watching and listening are going to find that to be really like surprising. So,
right, because you're engaging with people in this way, but at the same time, you're doing it from the privacy of your house, aren't you?
yes.
Right? You're in your cave, so you're
Yes.
fine. And so basically, the profile is the foundational frequency on which we function and operate. And as you can see, the chart has these two columns of numbers. One is in black on the right-hand side, and it says personality on the top. The other one is in red on the left-hand side, and it says design. Now, this goes to the two crystals of consciousness, and basically to the two parts of what create us as human beings. It's the mind and it's the body. It's the spirit principle or the soul, and it's the form principle, the body, the vehicle that we are embodying. We're actually the passengers in the vehicle, right?
Hmm.
And human design is the science of a form principle. It's about honoring the form principle, and I think that's actually uh, um, maybe not new, but definitely for me, it's the path of real spirituality is to honor the body. In the Middle Ages, it used to be like people flogging themselves, feeling the body is the prison for the soul. Actually, the body is always the answer. Like animals have no mind and they live in harmony with the world, right?
Mm.
The mind is what creates the problems. Not just the mind, but actually mind in and of itself can be a great tool again, but if it wants to make decisions, then it's a problem. So in this chart you can see these two columns of numbers, and basically they reflect the intelligence of the personality, which is what we identify with, what we're consciously aware of. So all these black numbers are things that we're consciously aware of. And the design side is the intelligence of the body, things that we're aware. Maybe because somebody tells us, hey, you're doing this all the time, or because we live it out through years and do it over and over, because we live it out just as often and just as frequently as the black talents that we have, but we're not consciously present and aware to it. We can never be consciously aware of it. It's always unconscious. And so
Mm.
these two parts create the totality of us, the mind and the body, the soul and the form. And so the profile also has two parts, two numbers. I said that the profile is the line of your personality, sun and earth, but then also it's the line of your design, sun and earth. So the first part of your profile, number two, is what you consciously identify with. You
Mm.
know you're naturally good at certain things, you're naturally talented, you're here to be called, to really find your calling, to really find your talent. It seems to me you were called already, to do this at least, as far as I know. And so, that's the conscious part of your profile, and that's the foundational frequency on which you function. You're always going to be called. The problem is if you accept calls that are not for you, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
then you
I
get
think I'm
called into
done.
all
I'm hopefully done with that. I've had plenty of calls that were not mine.
right, and they probably took you to all kinds of
Oh God.
uncomfortable, maybe even embarrassing situations that weren't correct for you.
Yeah.
And then the fifth line in your design profile line is the heretic. It's somebody who is very, very practical and can really bring practical solution to problems.
Mm.
It's also somebody who is very influential because it's a line of projection, and people always project on you that you'll be in this way or that you will help them, that you will save them, that you will do this or that for them. People who have no idea who you are and they meet you on the street, they project on you that you'll tell them where's the nearest pharmacy. It's like
Yeah.
they always expect you to be one way or another. So it's a line of projection.
Interesting.
And you can actually, and you are doing it, I'm sure, whether you know it or not, because it's the design, it's unconscious, you do it anyways. You're actually using this projection as a way of seducing other people to listen to your criticism.
Hmm. Interesting.
You're using this projection, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, you have a lot of influence over other people. And fifth line really is the line of universalization. So you have some experience, and you can get out of it the universal underlying principle and universalize it in a way that's universally valid. And that's something that can actually spread like a wildfire. You can have a big impact on people that you don't even know personally, which is, I assume, what you do in your job, right? So it's a seductive line, which is about projections, but actually projections are sometimes based on the truth that you can be the savior, that you can bring the practical solution to the problems of other people. And the heretic aspect of it is that you directly challenge the norms of behavior. Basically, you do things in a way that are heretical, that is heretical, right?
Right.
But if you manage to bring other people out of their problems and crises, they don't mind your heresy. They're happy about it, and they'll thank you for it, and they'll probably pay you for it. However, if you do it when it's not correct for you, if you didn't respond, if you just do it because you thought you should, or they ask you and you didn't respond, but you just go and help them because somehow whatever you feel you should, it doesn't work. And at the same time, not only it doesn't work, but actually they'll be upset because you're such a heretic.
Yeah, so
Right?
alignment is like a huge thing with all of this. And
Yes. And basically, it's about very simple few things to pay attention to. It's about learning to what it actually truly means to respond, which I usually speak about longer if I explain it in a class or in a reading. But this respond mechanism is one thing, and then there is this voice of truth, and we'll get to that, I'm sure, the emotional inner authority in your case. We'll speak about emotionality. And so even though the system itself is really complex, and one can be studying it for literally decades and still not knowing everything there is about it. At the same time, the practical information that goes to a client, or especially to people that are in a class, is really simple to get and something you can experiment with. And as Ra always said, don't believe me. Try it, test it out,
right.
experiment with it. This is no belief system. Just see if it works for you and see where it takes you.
Well, and I love that he says that because that's really how you have to approach all esoteric
Uh-huh.
things. You really need to test it yourself and see how it fits for you. So I love that he says that. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead and talk about the emotional authority.
All right. Well, you can see the brown triangle on the far right, which is the solar plex center, and it's the center which relates to emotions, moods, passions, relational intelligence. Basically, if it's defined, it means that for your life, your whole life, you're riding on the emotional wave up and down, up and down, up and down, always. Okay, and 51 or 52% in the world of people in the world have emotional center defined. And by the way, if you want to know your chart, you can go to humandesignamerica.com and just calculate your chart there for free. So you can immediately know whether you are emotionally defined or not. If the brown triangle on the far right is actually brown, or if it's white, right? And if it's brown like this, what happens is that you're riding on this emotional wave up and down, and all the time things change because the way you feel about them changes. The way you see things, the world changes, because you're always feeling differently as you move on your emotional wave. You feel differently when you're on the very top, and you feel differently when you're at the very bottom, and you feel differently whenever you're somewhere in between, right? So this super simple advice, which actually applies to half of humanity, and it's super simple, is take your time before you make any decision, be hard to get, and wait to really clearly feel. So your truth is not what you think about it. Your truth is what you feel about it, and not what you feel at any given point and moment on your emotional wave, because you can feel excited, or you can feel upset, you can have a great mood, you can have a bad mood, whatever, but what you feel clearly, whether you are up or down. It's like if you were a mother, and I don't know if you're a mother. Are you a mother?
No.
If you
To
were,
a dog.
okay, so I'm sure you love your dog, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure you love your dog whether you're up on your wave, whether you're down on your wave, right? It's like
Yes.
something you know clearly. You clearly feel you love your dog, right? So in the same way, we call it emotional clarity. This emotional clarity, when it comes, what actually happens is that certain emotional nervousness about that decision goes away, and you're no longer nervous, but you feel something like relaxation in the body, and it's like, something really falls into place, and all of a sudden you clearly feel you have the emotional clarity. So does that make
Got
sense
it.
to you?
Yes. Yes, I
Yeah.
can relate that to like in dating situations
Hmm. Hmm.
when yeah, there's that excitement, but
Hmm.
and it's like I think I like them, but there's like that apprehension, and then there's other times where it just feels like good, and it feels mellow and like relaxed and just feels right.
Hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about taking your time to really be clear, taking your time to be hard to get, and it's not just about relationships. Obviously, it's actually about anything. So anything you're deciding, you can actually tune into this feeling of either you feel certain amount of emotional nervousness, or you feel emotional clarity. You feel this clear feeling of yes, I'll do it, or no, I won't do it. But whether it's yes or no, there is this clarity about it. And until the clarity is there, actually, what's there is the emotional nervousness. Now, if
Hmm.
somebody's as we're used to function from the mind so much, from the intellect, if somebody's in the mind and is really not paying attention to themselves much, or isn't really, tuning into this, it's very easy to overlook the emotional nervousness, to not even notice it, right? But if you are sensitive, if you take your time, if you learn to pay your attention to this, and especially if you learn to be hard to get. So especially in your case, when people are projecting all those things on you, you don't need to say no to them straight away. You can just say, well, sounds like a great idea, let me get back to you.
Hmm.
Okay. And while
Hmm.
you take your time, you're becoming more and more clear about whether it's really something you want to accept, or it's something you want to reject. Because you do have a gate of acceptance / rejection, gate 49 in the solar plexus. And so whether you accept it or reject it, it happens based on your feelings, not any feelings, but this emotional clarity, this feeling it clearly. That's how you know whether you should accept the needs of other people, which you so clearly see, and support them in getting their needs met, or that you should actually reject their needs, even though perhaps in your mind you would really like to support them. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
And maybe the biggest support you can give them at that point is to actually reject their needs. You never know, right?
Right.
So, not because you want to or you don't want to, but actually because you really clearly feel whether you should accept it or reject.
Oh, this is all making so much sense because, oh, I can't tell you, how come I didn't meet you like 10, 20 years ago?
Well,
When I had to go through like so much struggle because I was so in my head trying to figure everything out. And I was definitely an initiator. I was just like, go, 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 trying to force things. And now, I mean, 20 years later, I'm figuring this out. So,
yeah. This is exactly what my grandfather told me, and he's like in his 80s. He said, "Oh boy, why didn't I know that when I was 20? I could have had such a wonderful life." It's
wow.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, look, this simple advice that I just gave you, and that actually applies to half of humanity. It took me like 8 minutes to say that.
Hmm.
Of course, it's so easy to say and not so easy to do, because waiting for the emotional clarity takes a lot of patience, and we tend not to like waiting, and we're not typically a patient beings, right? Especially in the modern time, like everything is instant.
Yes.
And yet, actually, for you to be patient about whether you should accept or reject something, patient about who should you be loyal to. Gate 37, the gate of friendship and family. You are the person that is the glue in the community. You bring people together, and you actually have the gate of gather in the throat. The gate of queen, the 45th gate in the throat area, which is the gathering people together to work on the common goal. And gate 37, which is the glue in the family, creating this kind of bondage, in between people that you're close to, that you're near and dear to, right? So you can be very friendly and very loyal, and the question is, well, is your loyalty well placed or misplaced? Okay, again,
Yes. That's an
taking
excellent
your time.
point. And I keep going back to relationships or dating because I think it's an easy thing
Sure.
that people can grasp, but it's like everybody can have their shiny self, their best self showing. It's like that romance stage where everybody's like being their perfect on their best behavior, and then
Mhm.
over time, then you start to they start to reveal themselves. And I love that you're putting different words to this, that I'm realizing people show their true colors if you just give them the space and not
Mm.
just jump at the initial excitement. So I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's all about relaxation, right? It's about just stop worrying how things should turn out. And this is another thing I like to say. You don't need to know a solution to a problem in order for the problem to be solved. Actually, by listening to ourselves, by, as we call it, living your design. So in your case, it's learning to respond and actually only doing it when you clearly feel the response is there and you clearly feel it, right? That
Mm-hmm.
would be a short way of putting it together. Uh, you're tapping to a much deeper layers of intelligence and consciousness that are outside of the level of the intellect, right? So the problems that we face actually get solved just by us living our design, just by us. You don't even know why you were clear about accepting something and being, supportive to somebody's needs when you don't even know that person, and you didn't, it didn't particularly fit your schedule or whatever, but for whatever the reason, you felt clearly that that's something you should do, and by doing it, you don't know why all these situations, how it's all interconnected, right? And
Right.
something just happens that helps you in because if you support the people in the right way, they support you back. That's the nice thing about it. You're not here to just support others, but if you do it correctly, they also support you back. And so you get the help from universe, you get the help from other people. And so the problems will be solved without us having to know the solution. It just, the life itself is the answer, right? We go
Mm-hmm.
through it and it happens. So yeah.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. And this, I started this conversation with you having very little knowledge of human design, and you did a beautiful job of like helping walk us through the this my graph, and I love that. So thank you for that. Now, people I'm sure are going to love what we just talked about, and they want to know more. You already shared where they can get their own chart, but I
Uh-huh.
understand you have classes that you teach, so please share that.
Sure, thank you. Well, I teach actually different courses up to the professional level. I'm teaching professionals as well. This is my 11th year in human design, and I love it, and I do it professionally for years now. And my website is humandesign.net. And right over there on the front page of that website, you will find the links to my courses. And basically, the first course that is the gateway into the human design system is called Living Your Design, and this is the course where we go through all four types in details, all four types and their signature, the satisfaction and the not self, the frustration and generators, and so on. we go in details through all the 9 centers and what does it mean when the center is defined and what does it mean when it's open, undefined. And we go through all those modes of decision making, something we call personal authority, the voice of truth within. So the link to the Living Your Design class, which I'm teaching actually fairly soon, is on my website, humandesign.net. And so everybody feel free to check it out, and you're most welcome to the class. Now, I would still like to add a little bit because I think that might be juicy and interesting. The openness is usually where we look into the world, as I said, but the openness is also usually where we get conditioned. And just by looking at your ego center, it's the center of lower self. It's the triangle that's kind of in the middle, slightly to the right in the chart. It means you don't have a consistent way your willpower expresses itself. It doesn't mean you don't have any willpower, okay?
But I have a lot of willpower.
Yeah, but it just means it's not consistently present there, okay? Now, typically what happens in the ego, because it's the ego after all, is that people try to prove that they're good enough, especially when the center is open, because that might be the conditioning of thinking, well, I'm not good enough. Mm-hmm. Now, we can be very precise when I speak about initiating and things that aren't correct for you. To look at your chart, it gives us very precise things to point at. For example, I said you can be the glue that holds, tribe together. Gate 37, the gate of friendship, but it's looking at gate 40, which is the gate of working hard for the community. Okay, it's somebody who is willing to deliver and really work hard for the friends and for family and for community. So your loyalties should be to those people that are willing to work hard for you or hard together with you, right? The conditioning in your case might be that you'd be the one that really works hard for the friends and family.
Yes.
So be careful about that. And so I think you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes. I do.
So I just wanted to throw in this little detail because that's like all the things we can look at. So yes, it's really fascinating. It's really fun, and the more you know about yourself, the as Ra said, again, I'm quoting Ra Uru Hu, the more you know about yourself, the greater comedy it is to watch yourself in action.
Yes, I can see why. Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, this, like I said, this really was an incredible conversation. So I do appreciate you sharing your knowledge, and I can tell we just scratched the surface. So, but thank you for this. It was a lot of fun.
You're most welcome. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun for me as well. And yeah, thanks. And hello to all of you that are watching.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. I hope you enjoyed today's guest and got something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at theawakenedgoddess.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.